As I speak to you now, I invite you to see what is happening in Morocco and the young men and women who are running away and dying trying to go to Europe, which tells us this: there is a lot to be done in the continent. And that is what gladdens my heart, that in your own small way here in Delta, recognizing as you do that Nigeria must be built state by state, you are beginning to recognize the areas that ought to receive attention. You are recognizing that oil must be utilized. And you, Mr. Governor, did tell us that you are aware of what the Norwegians have done, that they now have a sovereign fund of nearly 3 billion or 3 trillion United States dollars. The question that you must therefore ask yourself, will you do that here in the Delta State? I want you in Delta to compare yourselves with others. Your own country or your own state has an economy larger than over 20 African countries, a GDP larger than 20 African states. The question is, with all the resources that we have, whether we are talking about agriculture, whether we are talking about minerals, whether we are talking about oil, whether we are talking about pharmaceutical sectors, whether we are talking about the blue economy, what are we doing that is in keeping with the demands of the 21st century? The world now talks about the 4th and 5th industrial revolution. The world now talks about artificial intelligence. But I always ask my fellow Africans who are quick to talk about artificial intelligence, who controls the artificial intelligence that we consume in the continent of Africa? It is not us. It could be withdrawn in the twinkling of an eye, and we go back to the dark ages. So the question is, as you are here in Delta, it is equally tragic that in our interpretation and understanding of who an investor is in the continent of Africa, we still don't think that fellow Africans are investors. We think, and allow me to be blunt, that our investors must be Malaysians. We think that our investors must be Brazilians. We think that our investors must be Chinese. That is not the case. And I'm saying this because in the year 2018, I and others started something called the Pan-African Investment Movement. We have now visited 6 countries, and we have told heads of state that even Africans with $100,000 each, putting the money together, are investors. When a few Africans heard I was coming here from as far as Trinidad and Tobago, they asked me, but why were we not invited? I said, next time. Because next time, Honorable Governor, I want to see Kenyans here. I want to see Ghanaians here. I want to see Sudanese here. I want to see Ethiopians here. I want to see Moroccans here. I want to see Egyptians here, because Africans must begin to believe that they have both the intellectual and financial wherewithal to participate in the development of their continent. Because it is only when we do so that our friends of goodwill from Brazil, our friends of goodwill from China, our friends of goodwill from Europe, our friends of goodwill from the United States of America will begin to believe that the relationship between us and them is symbiotic rather than parasitic. But I'm urging you going forward, ask yourself, how are you using your young population who are graduating from the universities, What skills are they receiving? I'm asking, how are you using your academics from the universities? What is the budget that you have set apart for research and development so that your academics are not only individuals who preside over graduation ceremonies, but they are producing thoughts and they are engaged in research which is informing agriculture, which is informing energy, which is informing all the critical areas. And as my good friend Tony Elumelu said, you can talk development all you want, but if you don't have energy, you are going nowhere. You are going nowhere because how are you going to compete with the Chinese? Let me give you an example, then I sit down. Nigeria generates no more than 5,000 megawatts of electricity. You lose a bit of it in distribution. China generates 3 million megawatts of electricity, which means that the seats we are sitting on, even if you wanted to produce them here in the Delta, people would still buy them from China because they are cheaper. I'm therefore suggesting that energy should be one of the critical areas in which you focus. And we now know that gas can be used in that area. We now know that diesel can be used in that area. And this is a good journey. And as one of your fellow Nigerians once said, and this is not gender insensitive, that a chick that will grow into a cock is seen on the day that it hatches. Even a hen that will grow into a chick that will grow into a hen is seen on the day it hatches. Delta looks good. Make it good. Allow it to remain good. Think beyond yourself in the knowledge that you are not successful until your successor succeeds. God bless.